We really appreciate it. This is a webinar that we're very excited about. Have a lot of folks still coming in the waiting room and have joined already. So we're going to get this thing kicked off. We got a lot to cover and we want to meet Q&A. So how we handle Q&A with these sessions in the past is any questions you may have, you can put them in the chat. When we get to the Q&A session, you can also raise your hand and we can unmute folks to ask their questions. And we've got Brian Malott and Rob Angel here, so they'll be able to answer a lot of the questions. We'll all collaborate to make sure that your questions are answered after we go through the presentation. If we haven't been introduced yet, my name is Mark Lennox. I am the Product Education Manager here at Freedom Forever. So I'm responsible for this webinar series. If you haven't seen the one we've done for Vivint and the one we did a few weeks back, you can look for those links in your email. They'll also be posted in the Sales Resource Center, and we'll have a copy of this webinar that will come out not long after. So let's take a look at the agenda and what we're going to be covering today in this webinar. So right from the jump, we're going to talk about lead creation and lead creation best practices, how to take that lead and create an Aurora proposal, some of the proposal features, some of the built-in slides in that proposal, and how to design your system, how to adjust your system summary, and how to fill out the credit application. And then once you're at the end of that, we'll show you how to use the exit to CRM button to convert your proposal into a project. After that's done, we'll spend some time talking about how to duplicate proposals, how to send your proposals to homeowners, get an overview of the system details. We've got a few speed bumps that we've seen, some situations in the past where we can give you some heads up. Maybe that'll answer a lot of the questions that we would get at the end in advance. And then again, we're going to have that Q&A at the end to address and answer any questions you might have. So again, thank you for being here, and let's get started. Okay, so when you log into Lightspeed, you're going to default to your project's dashboard. In order to create a lead, we are going to go to the leads dashboard and create one from scratch. So once you click the leads dashboard from your taskbar on the left-hand side, it's going to populate any leads that you've generated in the past or any Freedom leads that have been assigned to you. You'll be able to sort through those leads by status, by appointment date range, or lead source, Freedom generated or dealer generated. But for this webinar, we are going to create a lead from scratch. So there are 4 main data points that you have to address in order to create a lead that's compatible with Aurora. The first is the homeowner's full name. So once you populate the full name, it's going to ask you to enter the property address. As you start entering the address, it should populate a list, and you can choose your property from that list. And then it'll show you a zoomed out Google view where you can confirm that that's the correct location and drag the pin to the correct spot to confirm that that's the correct address. From here, you can scroll down and click Add More Lead Details. This is where you're going to get the last 2 data points, which is the email address and the homeowner's phone number. If you know the utility company, you can choose it from a list here. And also, there's a really cool feature built into this Add Lead toolbar to add energy usage right within the lead. So you can click Add Energy Usage. It's going to give you a collapsible drop-down where you can enter the kWh usage for all 12 months. There's 3 spots where you can do this. Here, when you're making the lead, after you've created the lead, you'll see the energy usage button there as well as a street view of your project and the ability to create an Aurora proposal or a Sunrun proposal. If you need to edit any of your lead details, you can click that pencil button at the top, enter your energy usage. If everything is correct, we are going to click New Aurora Proposal. It's going to populate all of that information, the email address, phone number that you just entered, and ask you to confirm once again if that pin is in the correct location. This is an important step because the address needs to be correct. Otherwise, if the address changes, you have to create a new lead from scratch. So once you click Create Proposal, it's going to take you to Aurora. Again, this is going to match the details that you entered in the Create Lead: first name, last name, phone number, email address, and the address itself. So if all of that's correct, you can move over to the top right and click Start Proposal. The first thing it's going to ask is Add Energy Usage. I'm going to stop right here and direct everyone's attention to the upper right-hand side where it says Utility Rate and Post Solar Rate. If you know the utility rate, you can click from that drop down and choose the utility that you're currently working with for this project. Also, many utilities have a post-solar rate, a rate specific to a home that goes solar. If you don't know that post-solar rate, you can ask your dealer manager and get some insight. But also, if the rate on Aurora doesn't match typically what the homeowner is really paying, you can put a custom utility rate in here that's more accurate to what the homeowner is paying. So ask your dealer manager about post-solar rates for whichever utilities you're working with. So I'm going to start populating my kWh usage for the last 12 months. Another cool feature within Aurora is the ability to add whatever details you have. So say you only have 8 to 10 months of usage. You can populate those data points into the months of the year and click estimate. It will give you an estimate for what it believes the homeowner will use for the rest of the year. For this lead, I'm going to use all 12 months as if I have all 12 months of data and click estimate and done on the upper right-hand side. Okay, so once you have your monthly usage put in, it's going to give you an average bill breakdown and what the current grid use rate is. This is based on a Florida utility. Also at the top, you can click 30-year total and give the homeowner a breakdown of what their utility rates would be over a 30-year period if they chose not to go solar, based on the current percentage increase for that utility. On the next slide, you'll see a breakdown. This is all informational about traditional power and what a typical homeowner's utility bill looks like and how power is transmission to their house. On the next slide, you'll see how solar power works during the day, how you produce power during the day. And then, in the evening, your solar panels will be on the grid. Again, these first few slides are all informational. The next slide is a breakdown of the benefits of going with Freedom Forever, which includes our 25-year production guarantee and some of the finer points of going solar, especially with Freedom Forever. On the next slide, it talks about our partnership with Vivint and Vivint Smart Home, gives you an overview of how that partnership works. And then on the upcoming slide, it gives you a breakdown of the different packages and what equipment is included with each one of these potential smart home packages that the homeowner may choose, and what the monthly costs are for each if they choose one of the upgraded packages. Okay, so after you pass through the Vivint Smart Home page, you're going to progress over to the System Design tool. Now, if this is your first time designing a roof for this project, it's going to prompt you to run Aurora's Roof AI. About 99% of the time, when you click that Run Now button, it's going to detect all the appropriate roof planes for the home in which you drug your pin over. So you can see this is the home that we entered. We dragged the pin to this location, but now immediately it will kick in and start detecting the roof structure. If this doesn't happen properly, what you can do is click that home button with the plus and request an expert design. If you're in home, you can do an expedited expert design, which typically takes about 15 to 20 minutes, or it'll take 3 hours for a regular design based on, if you're not in home. And those designs are done by a real person. It's not AI. There's a person that actually does that model for you if you request an expert design. So I'm going to choose the next tool, which is the Place Panel tool, and choose a panel to place on the roof. I'm going to choose the Freedom Forever 400 watt. Make sure that you check the adder sheet in the Sales Resource Center so that you know you're using a panel that is currently available. You can choose your panel orientation in landscape or portrait, and then there is a filler row that's automatically placed on the roof as a line of panels as a filler row on top. So I'm going to go ahead and click Place, and you'll see now Aurora is saving the design and placing the panels on the roof. It's going to give me a max fit, but it will default to as close to 100% offset right from the jump. So I'm going to choose a couple of these panels and take them off just to show you that as you click each one of them or drag your cursor over multiple panels, you can turn on or turn off whichever panels you want for that roof. Also, if it is a ground mount system, you can click the ground mount tool and drag the corners to design whatever size ground mount you may need. If you need to delete that ground mount, click the delete button and that'll drop off of the project. Okay, so anytime you add or remove panels, you're going to have to click the recalculate button. But first, we're going to go on the bottom left and show you the 5 different tools that are also built in to your Aurora proposals: irradiance, LiDAR, trees, rulers, and SunPath. So the one we're going to do first is irradiance. When you click irradiance, it's going to detect exactly how much sun exposure each one of these roof planes gets. So after clicking irradiance, you'll see an additional bar at the bottom that saves your design and begins calculating the irradiance. Once that's complete, you'll see the roof light up and a meter to show you which roof planes get the most sun exposure. LiDAR shows you a mixture of sun exposure and potential shade for each roof plane. Trees are exactly that. It'll show you, this is a relatively new neighborhood that we're showing this design for. So we're not going to see the trees. The ruler will show you the different lengths of each roof plane. And then a really cool tool at the bottom is sun path. So when you choose the sun path tool, it's going to zoom out and show you on a month-to-month basis or an hour-by-hour basis how the sun moves over the property over the course of a few months or a few hours. So we'll let that do its thing real quick, just to show you how that animation works and how it detects the sun path. When you want to turn sun path off, click the sun path button and it will zoom back into the project. Okay, I'm going to turn LiDAR off and work on designing this property. So I click recalculate on the upper right-hand side. It's going to give me an offset. Right now we're at 108%. So I'm going to toggle a few of these panels on or off. And then each time I change any of the panels, you have to click recalculate. So after clicking recalculate, it's going to give me my new offset. And we're at 96. So I'm going to add one more panel just to try to get this design as close to 100% as possible. If I'm satisfied with that design afterwards, I'll click the next page and we will move to the environmental aspects of what that specific system you just designed, how that impacts the environment. So now we're at the system summary page, and this is where you will see what the current system design is, how many panels you're using, how large the system is, and what the current tax credit is. I'm going to go over to the adjust button just to show you the different adders and how to set your price per watt using this cost estimating tool. Now, there are different kinds of adders that are on this list, a price per watt adder or a fixed price adder. Like if you were adding the full cost of a roof, you would scroll down to the bottom and add that there. I'm going to scroll down and choose the adder box for the Freedom 400 watt panel to make sure that cost is built into my estimate. And then you can see miscellaneous where you could add any fixed cost adders as well. I've set my price per watt on the upper right-hand side at $3. If I'm satisfied or I don't need any other adders, if I was choosing one of the smart home packages, I would choose one of those adders here. But instead, I'm going to choose calculate and then click done. It's going to calculate what the monthly payment would be based on the current loan product. It's defaulted at a 5-year loan. So I'm going to click this drop down and scroll down and choose a different loan product. So we'll go 6.59 at 25 years. Anytime you change the loan product, you're going to see it calculating your new payment. So you see what the new payment is based on the interest rate, the system size. And also, if you scroll down to the bottom of this list, here's where you would choose a cash project as well. Here's what the renewable tax credit is for that system. And you can uncheck this box to show the homeowner what their first 18 payments would be like and what the payment would be if they hadn't applied the tax credit to pay down the cost of the loan. So if you're satisfied with this loan product and you want to take the next step and apply for credit, you'll hit the Apply Now button on the right side to open up the Mosaic credit application, which is a soft credit check. So let's go ahead and do that now and hit Apply Now, just to show you what that looks like and what information you have to add to that credit application in order to submit the application for approval. So as the credit application pops up, you're going to see the same address, name, email address, phone number, enter the last 4 of their social security and date of birth, verify ownership and residence. And if you need to add a co-applicant, you would check that box here and input their information. Here you'll enter the annual income. And then there's optional info at the bottom for is there an alternate phone number or do they receive mail somewhere else? And then you can submit that application. It's going to ask you to verify the address. If the address is good, then you can click continue. Now, in order to show you this project and to move it to project completion, I'm going to change it to a cash payment project so we can progress it over to the project generator. If the homeowner was approved for credit, you would send the loan documents to them and they would begin filling that out, and you can send the project for project generation on the upper right-hand side. The very important exit to CRM button on the upper right-hand side will take all of the information and the design from this lead and transfer it over to our project generator. So let's click exit to CRM and start the process of building this project generator in Lightspeed. So as soon as I click exit to CRM, it's going to open up that project generator for me. Because we chose cash purchase, this is going to automatically default to whatever option I had chosen on the previous screen. If it was Mosaic, it would show up Mosaic. We're going to click next, and it's going to have the same address that's copied over from the proposal. Again, using this exit to CRM tool basically allows you to not have to do double entry. We're confirming the same information. Little hiccup there, jumped on me. Bear with me. So once you've confirmed the information and put in their contact method and their preferred language, it's going to ask you for the utility bill information. If the utility bill is the same as the person on contract, you will just choose them. If it's someone else, then you'll be asked to give their name and their email address, and they will be sent the interconnection documents. Now, for homeowners association details, if there is an HOA, there is a drop down that will allow you to search for HOAs that have already been entered into our system. There's also a checkbox to say, I need a new HOA added for this project. The only info you need for that is the HOA name, but if you do have the website and email address, you can add it there. So to progress this, I'm going to click not really sure, and we're going to move on to the next page. So for this system, the homeowner has chosen the free Smart Home Essentials. So I'm going to choose that as my product and click next. It's going to show some more details about what the homeowner gets with Smart Home. And after you click next, it will also bring up a video that talks about the partnership and how this will work between Freedom and Vivint Smart Home. On the next slide, you'll see system details, which is confirming the design that you put into Aurora. So one of the key details for using the exit to CRM button is that you only have to have one design made. If you were to generate this project manually, you'd have to double enter all of the information and then have another design made in Aurora, which just wastes a lot of time and charges Freedom for a second design. So if you can use that exit to CRM button, it copies everything over for you and doesn't force a second design to be made. So when this is complete, we're going to click on next and move to the next page. This is a roof-mounted system. For this, we're not going to choose the battery, but this page is also important. So everything transfers over from Aurora with the exception of certain adders or upgrades. So if they chose the Enphase system, or you think they need an MPU, or they're going to attach an EV charger to the project, you would check that box here and add those in the upgrades needed to notify Freedom that these adders are part of the project and need to be sent over. Again, those don't transfer over from Aurora. Maybe in the future they will, but for now, they need to be checked here to let Freedom know that these upgrades are part of that project. So here, we're at the summary screen. We're going to go to confirm price, which transferred over from Aurora based on your cost estimate. This was a self-generated lead, and I've chosen maximizing system production. You can also choose match the layout that you designed. And then near the bottom, there's an option for any special requests or notes you may have. If everything looks good, we're going to click Let's Go and convert this to a project. Any additional documentation that is needed will pop up here. For instance, this Florida project would require homeowners insurance. We're going to skip through that to get through to the next step. At this point, the homeowner will be sent all of the documents using a magic link that they need to sign, and they'll begin the signature process. When this project converts into Lightspeed, you will see some of the basic project details that just transferred over, as well as your cue to sign that contract. After you've signed that contract and the homeowner has completed all of their steps, once you refresh this page, you'll see the option to submit this project. This is the submission process where you can schedule the site survey and the Vivint Smart Home install. So we're going to click Submit Project and skip through these documents and click In-Home Submission. When you click In-Home Submission, it's going to bring up a separate screen that will allow you to answer 7 basic questions about information needed for the site survey and a good time for the site survey. So we'll answer these questions real quick. Nope, there's no pets that will prevent access to the exterior. They will need to grant the technicians access to the electrical panel, in the event that it's in the garage. Are there any flat roofs? Are there any existing roof leaks or damage? Vaulted ceilings? Is it a manufactured home? How many stories and what is the roof type? So I'll choose shingle. The next thing that pops up is available times for site survey. So if this time doesn't work, you can click that red X and it will give you some additional times. If none of those work, it can be scheduled later, or you can return to your project and use the take action button to schedule that site survey. So for this, we're going to choose this Tuesday at 4 to 5. And then I'm going to choose a similar window for the following Tuesday, that 4 to 8 window, to schedule the Vivint Smart Home. So once I have these two things complete, I can click the schedule button and this project will be submitted and the stage will be at site survey. As soon as we get back to the screen, I want to show you one of our new features. So we just submitted this project. How can there already be a sales ticket open? Well, we recently added support for title check once you submit a project. So it's showing, because the contract is Test Aurora, that's not the homeowner's name. So there's a disagreement on the title. If you're still in home and this error pops up, you can collect any documentation like a mortgage statement or something like title information that you can upload right to portal to satisfy that requirement. Now, there may be some hiccups as this part rolls out, where it's checking everything for exactly as it was with whatever record it's verifying. So if there's even like middle initials or slight names, if you're getting tickets for something like this, it's probably because it's looking for an exact name and it might be slightly different on the contract. Okay, so we have completed the process of creating a lead, creating it in Aurora, designing, estimating possible adders and system design, and working that project all the way to the submission screen within Lightspeed. I'm going to grab a little drink of water here and we're going to move on to the next slide. So the next thing we're going to talk about is how to duplicate proposals, how to send those proposals to the homeowner, and how to view the system overview within Aurora. So if you want to edit or duplicate proposals, you'll open up the lead. This is a fancy animated GIF I made. I don't know if you say GIF or GIF, but I say GIF. If you think that's wrong, you're probably wrong. I'm right. If you want to edit or duplicate a proposal, you can open up that lead and click duplicate. It will ask you to give that proposal a new name. Now, a lot of the details, if you duplicate a proposal, like the price per watt you set, whatever adders you chose, and loan product, should transfer over to that duplication. If you wanted something from scratch, you can click New Aurora Proposal, or you can edit one that you've previously worked with. After you duplicate a proposal, you'll see a button on the bottom right of that Aurora proposal that allows you to click and view all proposals that you've created for that project. So that's how you create a new one, edit one that you're already working with, or duplicate if you want to make minor changes or get multiple pricing models. Once you're in Aurora and you want to send a proposal or view a system summary, you can click on the sun on the upper left-hand side, that purple sun. There is an icon for a mail button that will email the proposal to the homeowner. You can also click View Summary and download a summary of that system as it was designed. You can send that as well. So once you're in Aurora, click that sun on the upper left-hand side, and you'll be able to send the proposal or view a summary and download that summary for yourself. Okay, before we get to the Q&A section, we're going to spend a few minutes talking about some of the speed bumps that we know about and that we can address in advance. So what do you do if there's incorrect information on the proposal? So at the Aurora home screen, once you've launched your Aurora proposal, you're going to see first name, last name, phone number, and email. Those 4 data points can be changed in Aurora, and whatever you change them to here, that's what will show up on the contract when you. The only thing you can't change is the property address. So if you have an incorrect address, you will have to create a new lead and do that manually. So you can change data, the basic data in Aurora, but not the address. So what do you do if the application is denied, doesn't pass credit? Well, there's a couple things you can do. In the event that the credit application is denied, you have a few options. If you intend to run credit again with someone else that's on title of the home, you have 2 options. You can duplicate that proposal in Lightspeed and open up the new Aurora proposal, and that will allow you to change the information on that Aurora proposal to whoever you're going to be applying with, and then make the application in their name. Or you can log directly into the Mosaic portal and complete the credit application manually. So what do you do in instances where the homeowner was approved for a loan, but it wasn't enough to cover the current project costs? So if it was approved, but not enough to meet the cost estimate, again, you have a couple of options. You can do what we did on the last slide, which is duplicate the proposal and run the credit again under someone else on title, and the possibility they would be approved for the amount that you need. You can adjust the system to fall in line with what the homeowner has available to them. Keep in mind, though, you can change the loan amounts, you can change the price per watt, but you can't, once you've clicked apply inside that Aurora proposal, you cannot change the loan product. So if you were trying to create a proposal with a lower, like a product with a lower dealer fee, and you already applied, you would have to duplicate that proposal and run credit again with the per watt, some of the adder costs, but you can't change the loan product. Okay. So we're going to open this up for a Q&A session now. I've got Brian Malott and Rob Angel here, and I'm going to bring up our participant screen. 240 folks here. That's amazing. That's my largest webinar up to this point. So we'll hit up the chat. And if you do have a question, raise your hand and we will try to address as many questions as possible. One thing before we get started here, we do have an email address, producteducation@freedomforever.com. So if we don't get to everyone's questions or we run out of time before the end of this webinar, email any questions you have, and Brian and I will go through all of them and make sure that everyone's questions are answered. Okay? All right, so we have Joseph Gonzalez. I'm going to lower your hand and ask you to unmute for your question.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, great. Yeah, I unmuted myself, but then I put it back on. So I apologize for that. Thanks for putting this together. I think this is great, for new trainers that are coming on, and also for people like me, just as a refresher. I wanted to ask you a question. When you're working and doing these proposals, let's say you're working with a family that they want to get a roof quote, but you weren't able to, get a roof quote at the moment. What's the best way to proceed with them?
Brian, do you want to take that?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'll hop in there. So, to restate the question,
first time you're meeting with the client,
you're sitting with the customer,
right?
You think that they're going to need a new roof,
right?
So there's a couple things you can do, right? Is you can either just leave the roof off and let them know, hey, we're going to do a site assessment here. We're going to review the roof. If it does appear that we do need to do some roof work, we will get a roofing estimate. To at which point we can then change the economics of the deal to include the roof. Or you can do like a rough estimate and price it in at that point. But I think the big thing there is to just set expectations that this is just an estimate. And after we do a full assessment of the property, we can reevaluate, what that roof is going to be and how it works into the full price of the loan.
And what's a good estimate to go with? I know it's hard to say. It's based on the size of a house, but what's a good estimate to use?
Yeah, size of the house, location matters. The type of roofing material matters. I think that's hard for me to answer just on a broad scale. Okay. I think that would be a great idea for a follow-up webinar to just go over roofing types and estimating and all that. I don't have a catch-all answer for you right here, but why don't we connect offline? And based on your market and the type of roofs that you're seeing, we can go ahead and try to get you a better estimate to use when you're in the home with the customer.
And then as a follow-up question, I have a new person that's interested in going solar, but it's a new build. How do we go forward with getting the kilowatts for 12 months when it's a new build? How do you proceed?
Yeah, new builds not currently supported with Aurora right now. Traditionally, what we've done is we've built out like a ground mount system or something like that, done it for an east-west orientation to just kind of get an estimate of the location. And then again, it's going to be one of those things where we have to confirm everything at the site audit. Once we have all the information from the site, our designers will be able to build something in Aurora that'll give us a little bit better of an estimate. But while you're there in the home, we're not able to just like build something for you right there or have you build something right there on the spot. Aurora is working on some things to where we can give some additional permissions to try to accommodate that, but it's just not available at this time.
Okay, we're going to go to Jeremy.
Hello. Thanks
Hello.
for the meeting webinar. I had a question about changing the kilowatts, the price per kilowatt, like, because I think yours was already at 12 cents what they were paying. How can you change the kilowatts that they're paying? So say for instance they're paying like 17 cents per kilowatt hour.
Yeah, so that was one of the things that I have an example. Let me just jump over it real quick and get it queued up. So bear with me for a second while I get that set up to share, and we'll show you how to do that from the energy usage screen to put a custom rate in. 1 second.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great question, and there was a comment in the chat that as the webinar was going as well. So an important thing is that we're making sure that we're selecting the correct rate and rate plan. So that might be one thing that's throwing it off. But like Mark's going to hopefully show you in the energy usage section, when you have the pre-solar rate and post-solar rate, you can click into that area and start typing in a kilowatt hour rate. So let's say the system is telling you that it's defaulting to 13 cents, but the customer is actually paying 12 cents, or the customer is actually paying 14 cents. You can go in there and start typing in that rate, and you can select it from that, so then it'll show correctly on the screen here. So he clicks the usage details, and then you can just start typing in like 0.14, and then you'll see the custom rates there. It's broken out by full cents and half cents.
Okay. And what if we only have like three months of usage? Can we use just 3 months?
Yeah. So
you type in the 3 months there.
Ryan.
Yeah. So you can just type in whatever months that you have, and then click that estimate button in the upper right hand corner, and then it'll model out the rest of the months there. I did see another question that came in while it was going on. That's like, where are these estimates coming from? Aurora uses a site called Genability on the back end, which is pulled from actual data compiled from utilities across the nation. So it's very accurate. If you're seeing something that just looks way off to you, we're happy to take a look. I meet with the Aurora team regularly, and so if there's anything that looks amiss, you want me to check it out, feel free to send that over to us, and we'll go ahead and check it out. Again, and shoot, did I get muted somewhere in there?
Just for like half a second.
Got it. Yeah, so you can email us at producteducation@freedomforever.com, and we'll be happy to check out any discrepancies that you're seeing.
Okay, we're gonna go to Randall.
Good morning. My question has to do with being able to take the individual panels and move them from one orientation to another. In other words, don't just hit every panel going over one way, be able to individually design it. I took it off of sales mode, which I thought would do it, but it didn't do it. It just sent me back to the beginning of the project. So isn't there a way that I can individually design the panels? Know that one of the guys I was talking to said that he could do it, but he couldn't explain to me how to do it. And it may be a permission or something.
So that's not currently built into sales mode. Like I said, one of the earlier questions, that Aurora is working on some permission-based things to allow those sort of things to happen. I would recommend utilizing the expert design feature there. If you have like a very specific type of orientation that you need, you can utilize the chat feature within Aurora and ask for an expert design and have them place it that way. The other thing that you can do is you can toggle on and off between portrait and landscape. So if you are designing the system, you drop on a bunch of panels that are portrait, you have that filler row that comes in and does like one row of landscape. If you're not getting the number of panels that you want there, you can also just clear them all and try the other way and start landscape, and see if you get a better layout that way. But if neither of those are working, I would then recommend that you reach out to Aurora for an expert design to get support there.
Okay, and then last night I was doing a project. I was sending the customer to a project, and when it popped up on the screen, he needed a re-roof, but I didn't see a re-roof option. I only saw partial re-roof, and so I did not check it because it's a full re-roof, and I already had a quote for him from Reimagine. So I just put in the notes and I put the amount of the quote and the quote number. But do I need to go back in that project and revise that to a full re-roof or something? I don't understand how that gets linked up to Reimagine again.
Got it. So yes, so those selections there, that's what's going to pass through to the contract. So if the customer just like needed to see it on the contract, there are two options. There's re-roof and partial re-roof. Just the re-roof option basically encompasses the full re-roof. There was a period of time where Mosaic did not allow full re-roofs, which is why you only saw the partial re-roof option. But that's no longer the case, and we have a request into our development team to put the re-roof option back in there. So when you're going through and you get to the final screen, if you're going to be including a re-roof, you can click just re-roof. That's going to encapsulate the full re-roof. And then, yeah, you can let us know the type of the bid number or what you included for the roof there. Any of that additional information is going to be helpful for us as we move forward. But if you included it in the pricing and didn't have it on the contract, that's not necessarily a deal breaker, but it is a good idea to let us know, hey, the customer included in this quote, we are expecting to do some roof work here. And so yeah, passing that note along to our construction engineering team would be very helpful.
Okay, we're going to go to Sterling.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Cool. Perfect. I just had a quick question as far as requesting the AI design on the phone. I've run into it a couple of times when it's like a new build or an area where there's not the greatest like for Google Maps. And so sometimes that the pin will be on the wrong home. And so when I go to move it, it just keeps that section of the map. Is there any way to like fix it if I need to move that pin to a home that is in the black, that it would update the picture?
I'm sorry, can you restate the question? And where are you adjusting the pin?
Yeah, so I've run into it a couple of times that the pin is placed on a home that's the wrong address. And so normally you can like move the pin within that certain area of the picture, but occasionally I need to move it outside where it doesn't have the homes at all. Is there any way to like update basically that picture, have the homes viewable instead of just the black screen on the sides?
So if you're just getting a full black screen, that would lead me to believe that something is wrong, right? There's some sort of bug happening, and reaching out
Brian,
to
let me take this one. I think I know maybe what the issue is here. So it's important that in the freedom in Lightspeed, when you're adding the lead, it's really important that you pin it to the correct address there, because that we take that latitude and longitude and send that through to Aurora, and that's what the area that you have available in Aurora is based off of. So I'm not sure if you're seeing an issue there, but make sure when you're creating a lead, you have the pin over the correct address in freedom. That then, once again, is what Aurora uses to basically build it's a certain area around where that pin is that we send to them. Gotcha. and the lat long that that's around. So that should solve that issue. Make sure it's correct in freedom, and then it'll be right in Aurora.
Perfect. Yeah, that'll do it. Thank you.
All right, next up, we're going to go to Jamie.
Yeah, so my question is, so when you were kind of explaining, you had a few options when a person doesn't qualify for the total loan amount. When they don't qualify for the full loan amount, but they still want to keep that system that you designed, if you do exit to CRM and then you go through the Lightspeed Freedom portal, it doesn't let you change the loan amount to whatever they're like. If they got approved for 75,000, but the thing is 80, and they're going to pay the remaining 5 in cash, it doesn't let you change that in the portal. So how do I notify like Freedom that they're just going to give us a check for $5,000 and but they're going to go through the loan amount?
Yeah, that's a great question. So currently doing partial cash payments is not something that's supported through this integration where you use the exit to CRM button. So if that's the case, they wanted to pay an additional 5,000 in cash. This is one of the scenarios where we would recommend submitting the project manually, where you go in Lightspeed, you click the generate project, click through, and then you would use the add secondary payment method. It's like secondary financing. You would click that. You would let us know the finance amount, the cash amount, and then that would then populate the contract correctly. So that's one of those scenarios that currently isn't supported. Something that we're working on building out to where you won't have to go that way. But as currently constructed, you would need to do that one manually.
Okay, next up.
Hello?
Yes, are you there?
Yeah, that was, he kind of had the same question I had. Like I say, I have a client that wants to put $10,000 down. And I think that's the same kind of question that the previous.
Absolutely.
So
Okay.
you have to do that manually through that. So.
Correct. Yeah, you would want to submit it manually. You can still use Aurora to get your pricing, get the kilowatt hour production, and then in order to do the dual financing, you would need to just submit it manually at this time.
Okay, thank you.
One quick addition there, guys, just to mention, just to add a little bit of detail. So if you're using Aurora to price that deal, but you end up putting $5,000, $10,000 down as cash, just keep in mind that your net PPW is actually going to be a little bit higher than what you put into Aurora, because you're not going to get the dealer fee on that cash amount, right? So just keep that in mind. That's just one quick little note there.
Can we have a question
Hello?
from Eustace? Eustace, you go.
Yes, sir, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. What's your question?
Okay, great. I really want to thank you guys, first of all, for having this session. It's been really very helpful to me because I've been struggling a little bit with some of this. Now, the situation I had, and still have actually, is that the homeowner and the person on title was denied on first submission. I had the Mosaic rep online, and I was advised to create a duplicate project, add the co-borrower, who is the spouse but is not on title. I did that. It was approved, but now I have a bit of a problem, which I'm still wrestling with, because Freedom is asking me for the co-borrower being on title. And I've been having a little bit of a problem getting that corrected, that he is not on title, even though he's the co-borrower and the project is approved for financing. Can you tell me how I can resolve this, please? Hello?
Yep, we're still here. So that isn't a requirement, to my knowledge, that that all parties on the contract or on financing are on the title. We just need one title holder on the contract, and then the other person, if their finance approved. Now, technically for Mosaic, that person either needs to be on title or needs to live at the home. So keep that in mind. But what I would suggest is, ultimately, if you're getting that answer from the normal channels, you kind of just need to escalate that up through, through the account management team's management, that they shouldn't be blocking you there. So I would suggest chatting with the sales concierge team, or shooting an email to sos@freedomprep.com and just kind of stating the issue. They should be able to push that through for you.
All right, we're going to go to Jake.
Hey, I just had a quick question about, once you choose the Freedom Forever panel on the design tab, whenever you go into the adders, do you have to add in the Freedom Forever panel there, or does it already add in to the price?
You would, when you go to the system details page, and you would have to check that box for the adder in order for it to be incorporated into your quote. Otherwise, then you would be absorbing the cost of that panel adder. So for instance, if you were, using the example that I had on screen, if you were trying to get $3 per watt, again, as an estimate, you would check that box for the panel so that it would be added so that that wouldn't come off of the top of what you were anticipating for your PPW. So you would have to check the box.
Okay.
Yeah, and we built in some like warning notifications. If you forget to add that on there, you should be getting an alert when you're trying to convert to contract that it was left off to go back, so you can go back and add it. But this is something that we've asked Aurora to build in, to where if you design it with the Freedom 400, then it's going to automatically transfer over into that adjust pricing screen. That's definitely where we want to go. It's just hasn't been built out that way yet. So yeah, it is important to, once you design it with the panel, you select the correct panel in that adjust drawer when you're doing your pricing in order for it to be factored into the loan.
That's actually coming very soon. They just gave me a demo of that recently. So just want to restate that one more time. So adders don't automatically get added currently. And then so adders in Aurora don't get automatically added. And then when you convert it in Freedom, as Mark stated earlier, the upgrades don't automatically get added. So super important that you're vigilant, you're double checking in each system, all of the adders and upgrades that are selected, because if you don't choose them, they don't get added, or they don't get added to the contract. So I don't think we can say that enough. Just want to make sure we reiterate that. But that is coming pretty soon. Both of those, we're looking to tie together the integrations much closer, and you guys are going to see we have some actually pretty exciting stuff over the next 1 to 3 months that we're going to be releasing, specifically targeted some of those tying together some of those integrations a little bit better.
Okay, so just for time's sake, I know we have about 17 hands up. We're trying to get to all the questions. We did add our email address into the chat. We're starting to see some emails rolling in with questions. If we're not able to get to everyone's questions, we do want to answer those questions. So please email us at producteducation@freedomforever. And I'm going to go now to Curtis Abbott.
Hey, thank you guys for everything that you're doing here. I have a two-part question, and the two parts of the question are actually completely related, but I'd like to separate them for the purpose of them being applicable to other circumstances as well. The first question I want to bring up also relates to what Randall Rule had brought up. I just wanted additional clarity relating to it, and that was the ability to access design mode. And then, of course, we were in sales or presentation mode. The gentleman that was on the call with us had access to design mode more fluidly in his past experience with Aurora. And I wanted to just get clarity on whether that was some sort of like a feature lock type of thing, if it was something that we were maybe could have gone at it a different way to access design mode. Could you comment on that for me real quick?
I can take that one.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so short answer is it's partially a role issue in Aurora, and it's partially a way that Freedom is implementing Aurora. We do expect that they are making an update to the role issue that will enable us, and I got to be careful here because we're not going to do this for everybody. We're only going to do this for certain kind of roles and types of individuals, but we are going to be able to enable design mode, as they call it, or pro mode for on a user level in the very near future. We're going to be pretty selective with how we kind of use that, because the whole concept here is that we want to trust the model that is produced either from AI or from the expert design. Obviously, we do know, of course, that there's certain situations that those models are not accurate and do need to be adjusted, of course, but for the average rep out there, or specifically the newer reps, we want to make sure that the model is as accurate as possible. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, that totally answers that portion of the question, because it's with great power comes great responsibility type of situation as well, I'm sure. Another question pertains to that same project, but in a different way. There was a small plane capable of putting 4 panels into. It was on the southern side, so it was very profitable real estate there. And 4 actual panels would fit there wonderfully prior to the expert design coming through. So 4 would actually go in horizontally. It would easily place 3 vertically. But after the expert design was requested, it still very much had visually room for 3 verticals. It lost the ability to do 4 horizontals, but it seemed to be a bit of a bug that came through there, where at that time there was no ability to put any more than 1 vertical when the clear space was there for at least 3. So is that what we encountered there? Is most likely some form of little bug?
So you're saying in the in the artificial design you could fit it, but in the expert design you couldn't?
Yes, in the original design, it would actually go 4 horizontals or 3 verticals, and afterwards it basically wouldn't allow you to put any more than 1, despite the clear visual ability that it should have.
It's 1 o'clock.
So keep in mind that those are 2 completely different models with different measurements, and so at the end of the day, I think generally the expert designs are the more accurate of the 2. So it could very well have been just a scenario where, with the measurements or the setbacks or whatever it was, it looked like we could fit 4, but the expert design just maybe had a smaller area or whatever the case may be. So I mean, you're going to see that. I don't think that's necessarily an incredibly rare scenario. It's again, we're estimating models here and roof measurements and sizing and et cetera, especially with artificial intelligence. That's not always going to be 100% accurate. It's pretty darn close. Aurora's the best in the business, but you are going to see some discrepancies. If in that case, my approach personally would be always take the more conservative. I think it's much easier to make a project better for a customer than it is to make it worse for a customer once the scope of work comes back. So that would be my 2 cents. I would go with the expert design 100 times out of 100 in that scenario.
Okay, so Rob, Brian, with your schedules, I'm not sure what you have coming up. Do you want to keep taking questions, or we're at our time limit now? So if you have time to take a couple more, we can take a couple more, or we can address them offline at Product Education at Freedom Forever. What do you guys think?
Let's keep going.
All right, let's keep it going.
I like your questions.
All right, HT.
Right. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Question for you. The number one about the EV charger. I know that's actually the adders. What is it coming with the plugs or anything? Can you kind of tell me a little more on that?
Yep, I'll take that one. We're actually going to be changing the product offering in the next probably week or 2. Today, it's currently what they call an EV integrated solar edge charger. So basically an inverter, and from the inverter, you have an EV charger plug. So you'll basically have all the equipment to be able to plug that right into your car, and it basically is connected to the inverter. That's what we have today. That's their solar edge. But we're going to be transitioning pretty soon here to another option that is a standalone, kind of more what people are used to when they hear EV chargers. So that'll be coming in the next week or 2. When that comes out, we'll have an email with some documentation and a little bit of training.
All right. Scott Biddle, you're up.
Hey guys, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, yeah, I've had a few problems where I've been doing some pretty rural estimates for people, and I'll type in their address at the very beginning when I create the lead, and there won't pop down like the option for address, and I'll just type in the address, and then it won't pop up the GPS picture with the house or anything. It doesn't find it. So I'm a little concerned what to do after that point. I kind of get stuck with that.
Yeah, I mean, that'll happen. That drop down is an API with Google, and we have seen, especially in rural areas or new builds, it just, and it could be something as simple as you're writing east and it has it as E, or maybe just the address comes up differently. I've also seen personally that sometimes if your internet isn't connected or you have a low signal, it just doesn't pre-populate. So you might just want to reload the page and see if it works. That's happened to me before as well. But generally, this will go back to the same answer we gave earlier, where it's like, even if you don't get dropped in the right place, you might have to spend a couple of minutes and just searching for the house and putting the pin over the right place on Google. If you do that, once it gets to Aurora, it's going to put you in the right place. You'll need to make sure that, again, you're like, you have the address written correctly, or else you'll need to do probably a rider or a change order after the fact to correct the address on the contract. But just to get the right house and the right design, basically just in Freedom's system, drag the pins, zoom out, find the right house, zoom in, put the pin there, and that'll put you in the right place in Aurora.
Yep, and we also have that cannot verify address button too that you can toggle on and start typing in the address manually as well.
Yep, great point.
All right, Sebastian, you are up.
Hey, this is Andrew. Real quick question. So once a lead is converted in Lightspeed to a project, I find oftentimes the lead is lost. Can you give clarity on that?
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
if I need to.
Yeah, we did see that. That's in only specific scenarios. We actually did put a bug, a ticket in not too long ago. I forget off the top of my head the specific scenario. I can't remember if it was a freedom lead or a dealer generated lead, but we did see that. We did put a bug in. I'll follow up on that, but yes, that was on the radar, assuming it's the same issue that we're talking about. But yes, that came to our attention recently as well. We were looking to fix it.
Okay, awesome. And then really quick second question is if a roof plane such as a detached garage is not picked up during the initial AI, and is the best process to request an expert design? And if the expert design still doesn't pick it up, what's the process and what's the best route to go about picking up that additional plane?
Mark or Brian, did you guys show how to initiate the chat feature in Aurora earlier? That would be a good thing to touch on here.
Okay, so just use the chat.
You just use the chat, and you can basically say, "Hey, we have another detached, garage or something like that. I need it modeled," and they can model it out for you.
Okay, thanks.
Right, Benjamin.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Okay, I do have a few questions. I try to be quick. First, I want to confirm for ownership, proof of ownership of the property when it comes down to the ticket item that you showed on the video. Do we have to match exactly word by word, letter by letter, what's on the mortgage statement or title?
So I can't answer that definitively. I'll need to check in with my account management team. I don't think we need if there's a middle initial that has to also have a middle initial on the contract. I know that utilities are very specific with how they want their interconnection forms filled out. With regards to title, I think there is some level of variance that is allowed. I don't have that exact answer for you. We can check it out. But with this new API that came through, what the API is searching for is that exact match. So we do anticipate you guys seeing an uptick in sign or not on title tickets. Some of those I think we'll be able to, with a manual review, right, and with someone from the account management team going through it, I think some of those will be able to mark as resolved without you guys uploading anything. But if you guys are in the home and you get that, you get that discrepancy there, if you upload a mortgage statement, it really doesn't hurt. And I think it's really great that we're getting those to you as quickly as possible. As we iron out this new integration that we have with CoreLogic, which is the new title software that we're using, I think it'll get much more smooth to where you'll see fewer of them opened up. But let me circle back on that. Who was it that asked that question?
My name is Benjamin David.
David. All right, let me get back to you with that answer. I don't want to give you the wrong answer right now. So let me see exactly what's required as far as account management is concerned, and I'll circle back with you.
So it does the just to clarify one piece. So it does automatically open up a ticket if what you have doesn't match exactly. So if there's a middle name on CoreLogic and you didn't add a middle name, it's the time we don't need a middle initial. It doesn't have to match exactly what's CoreLogic. It's just the system is automatically open up a ticket. As Brian mentioned, it's not going to be an issue. Said, but never I didn't need it. But those issues.
Got it. Do you guys mind showing and submit the mortgage statement right away, or is that on the site education video?
You can just upload it in the
just not of the full name, et cetera, et cetera.
You can just upload it in the project files. You can do that at multiple different points throughout the process. When you're generating the project, there's an other section to upload files. When you go to submit the project, there's another section to upload another. And then once you within the project itself in the file section to do that. So I'd say just maybe cruise around in the project files tab.
Got it. If there's a husband, does that affect also the system, I guess?
That's fine. As long as one of the title holders is on contract, that's what we need.
Okay, cool. Other question, their own company to do the roof, or does Freedom Forever work with a roofing company in every state they're in?
We have a set group of roofers that we use. So we don't allow homeowners to bring their own roofer to the job. If they want to use their own roofer, that's fine. They would just need to do that outside the context of the contract.
All right, next up we got Jeff.
Hello.
How you doing?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Cool. All of the design tools that we've had available to us with Freedom Forever dating back to 2019, this is before Aurora, we had the option to upload drone imagery when there wasn't any sat imagery available for a house. Is there a way to do that now? Is there a means to get that imagery to an expert designer so we can build it off of that?
I don't think there is currently, Brian or Mark. You guys know, you can correct me. I don't know if we have Raf on. He's been the expert here in these regards, but no is the short answer to my knowledge. What you could do, because with the drone, you also don't have the scaling that you need. You have kind of an outline. So as Brian mentioned before, I know it's a little bit messy, but you can either kind of take your best guess or just build kind of an east-west route to try to estimate the production factor. But Aurora, to my knowledge at this point in time, does not support that. But you can always chat Aurora and see, maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe they have some workaround that I don't know about. But to my knowledge, the answer is no.
Yep. And we do have access to Nearmap, which is usually taking satellite imagery that's very recent. So there are some scenarios where it's not going to be there, but more often than not, we will have an image there that's recent.
All right, Dan, you're up.
Hey, thanks guys for putting this together. I do a lot of trainings on your software, enjoy it, trying to learn as much as I can. Two questions. If you're so California, where they're putting in, basic minimal systems to meet new project design, new buildings, and how do we go about adding to an existing system like that to create, the energy they need going forward?
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of the question. Can you restate it?
Yeah. So how do we add on to an existing system like California? They have new homes have a requirement of having a certain amount of solar on it. And so it's like 20% of their solar, but obviously that's not enough to meet their needs. So we're running into new homes in California where they have the basic solar. They want to complete the rest of the house with solar. How do we create a project or design a project to add to an existing system?
So my advice there would just to build a system on the roof. We would treat it as a second system, and you could do it like a normal project.
Okay, so it would actually be a separate system. So it would
be a second system. That's
okay.
Right. Yeah, if it's something that was done like through Vivint or through like some other install like Sunrun, we won't tie into those systems. We would do it as a standalone system.
Okay. So yeah. So,
generally, the customer would have to sign an existing system waiver as well. Just keep that in mind. So you might want to prep them for that. We just want to make sure, generally in the construction industry, the last person to touch it owns it. So if we install a system and then magically the same day, week, year, whatever, the other system doesn't work, they think it's because of something we did. So that waiver is just kind of saying, hey, listen, we have nothing to do with the other system, whatever. So just keep that in mind.
Okay. And then in regards to ground mounts, two things with those. I think I'm seeing it correctly, but if you have a hybrid system of roof mount and ground mounts, I think the system, when you click the ground mount adder, it's applying it to the whole kilowatts and not just the roof and not just to the ground kilowatts for sizing. So the pricing, if I'm doing my math right, isn't accurate.
In that scenario, there is the miscellaneous adder too, so you can either just do the math and type in the amount that it would be for that ground mount section.
Okay,
that would be my my advice there, rather than doing it a full like price per watt type thing. Just type in like the miscellaneous dollar amount.
Okay, so that's what I've been doing. I just want to make sure I was understanding that correctly, because when I did the math, I was like, it's adding the ground mount to the full system size, not just the ground mount. Okay.
Yep.
All right. And then the with the ground mounts, the shade strip mount, is that like a kind of like a pergola type style? Just is it actual usable space underneath that shade structure ground mount?
It looks exactly. It's not like as aesthetically pleasing as like a pergola. So it's basically just like, think of it like a normal ground mount, but with footings that are higher. So yes, there is kind of usable space underneath, but it's not like a carport or like a pergola or anything like that. It's literally just ground mount with higher legs to it.
Okay, next up is Chris Mercer.
Hello. Thank you
Hey, Chris.
guys. Yeah. So I have a couple of questions. Number one, can you overlap the fire setbacks just a little?
Not in sales mode, but what you can do is, this is always, you got to use your best judgment here, but if you chat Aurora, like we've directed them to accommodate requests, even if they're kind of like not the best request. So if you ask them, hey, can I just get rid of the setbacks or move it from 3 foot to 1.5 foot or something like that, they will do that for you, and then you'll be able to build there. But in sales mode, it's not going to put panels over setbacks.
Okay, and then there's always the rejection, the prospect that it'll like reject it after the scope of work is reviewed or the site survey.
Yeah, it would basically just come back where it's like, yeah, we can't build this layout, or we got to move modules to a different roof plane. That might impact your production. That might result in a low production issue potentially. So yeah, depending on the scenario, that's correct.
Okay.
Back the final build.
What is the percent increase that Aurora is using to calculate the proposal tool on the proposal tool? To calculate total
4%.
So it's a 4%. Okay. And what does the green number on the last screen mean? Like, is that total savings with solar? It says in the presentation mode where it says bill overview, it says lifetime.
Lifetime what? Yeah, that sounds like it's lifetime savings. Basically, that's ultimately the total cost of solar minus the total benefit of solar, or the other way around, total benefit minus total cost. So basically the total 25-year benefit of going solar, factoring in rate increases, factoring in tax credit, factoring in payments, et cetera, et cetera.
Does it factor in like the interest, or is it factoring in like a cash payment?
Yeah, I believe it factors in the sum of the loan payments over the term.
The sum of all the loan payments. Oh, okay. And so where it says total solar rate, it talks about the lifetime energy production of the solar system. Is that lifetime of the panels or lifetime of the warranty, or the 25-year production warranty?
I am fairly certain that is either 25 or 30 years. I'm taking a look right now at the settings that we have. These are certain things that we can edit in kind of the main master settings here. Pretty sure that's 30 years, but I can, the 30 seconds I can answer. Why don't we go to another question, then I'll start back to that.
Hello, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
How you doing?
I have a quick question. I have a lead that told us that Apricot wouldn't allow an installation in a area of Connecticut, and I looked on the Freedom and Forever website, and there's literally 2 installations on the same street. Now, it's just my guess that maybe another Apricot agent approached them and didn't want to go through the tree removal. Can I email this the address you gave us to give the exact address and ask if there's a reason why they know of that it can't be installed, or maybe it's just they're not allowing me to create a proposal because someone else has generated this lead? I'm not sure.
I would recommend using the sales lookup tool to check that zip code and utility. If the zip and utility is live, Freedom can build there. There's nothing in Connecticut on more, like there's no certain states we have like blackout areas for the utility or whatever. Doesn't sound like that's the case here. We don't have those in Connecticut to my knowledge. So as long as the zip utility is live, there's no other reason that Brian, Mark, maybe you guys can think of something, but no other reason.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna reach out to the Western Mass office. It's only like 10 miles away, because I don't see any reason why we can't. The only thing I could think of is that someone else has grabbed the lead and they're just saying, you know, they don't want another agent doing that. So yeah, I'll reach out.
So yeah, if the customer is already under contract, you should definitely, you know, stand down there. But if in lieu of the customer already being under contract with Freedom, shouldn't be an issue.
Okay, going to circle back to that other question about the defaults. So the annual increase on utility rates, the annual escalation is 4.5%, except in Florida where it's set to 3%. I think that's due to a Florida utility requirement. The project life is 30 years. So that's going to be the total production and total savings over a 30-year lifespan of the system.
All right, next up we got Nick.
Yeah, I got a two-part question. Thanks for putting this on. First part is, if you have a new build or if you have an ADU with a backyard, but there's nothing there yet, they're about to start construction, but they want to get a number and they have plans, you know, the azimuth, you know, the slope, and so forth. Can you simulate a plane? Can you actually put a plane in that space so you know, so you can put panels on that plane? Is that possible?
So there's nothing there for the AI to pick up. I would recommend doing a ground mount, just placing panels there as like a ground mount with the direction of the azimuth.
And then taking out the fee for the actual mount.
Correct. Yeah, you wouldn't include that in
okay.
when you're in the adjust drawer doing the pricing.
And then my second part question is for trees. Is there a feature, or will you be getting a feature where you can minimize individual trees and then simulate what the irradiance will be without that tree there?
So that's something that Aurora live chat can help with, adjusting the model there. Like Rob was saying earlier, Aurora is introducing some other like roles and permissions that we will be releasing to some people that would be able to have that. I don't think it's a feature that will enable just for everybody within sales mode, but that is something that is doable. With a little extra support.
I just want to add in a minute or two on I want to make sure it's clear on exactly how the shading works. Brian or Mark, are either of you able to pull up on your page just a design page? I want to show this. So there's two ways that shading, and again, for most people, I'm sure you already know this, but I just want to make sure this is super clear. So there's two ways that Aurora does shading. Number one is it just takes the shade of the LiDAR, right? So that's basically any sales mode artificial intelligence design. It's basically just basing the shading off of the LiDAR that is there. So that's automatically applying shading. Separately, on any expert design, or really any other design, even if it's sales generated, you can manually create and add trees, okay? So on an expert design, instead of seeing LiDAR, you're typically gonna see a different visual of what the trees look like. Now, what I want to highlight is when Mark, earlier in the bottom left of the page, there's a toggle there that shows trees, right? So that is actually showing the trees that were manually added through an expert designer from somebody there. So in the event that you created a sales mode design, an artificial design, and you're taking out a tree, what you need to do is you need to request an expert design and then chat, or you can just chat directly to Aurora, and they should be able to manually add trees and then just remove the one that's in question. Generally, though, I think they want us to do an expert design and then chat them and have that one tree that you're talking about removed. Hopefully that answers your question.
Okay. Kevin, you're up.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Just a quick question. I got a project I'm working on, and the homeowner couldn't qualify for the amount I needed, and his wife is not on the deed, but she has better credit than him. Can she go on a credit check if she's not on the deed?
Yes.
Oh, she can?
You can do a co-applicant as long as they live at the home or are on title.
Yep. They're not on the title, but she does live there.
Yep. Then yes, they can. You Do
So
a
now that I've already supplemented the one request, I was going to do another one.
Yeah, that would probably be best. You can duplicate that design, run another application, make sure in the Mosaic application you add the wife as a co-applicant.
Gotcha.
Should be good to go. And make sure they're both.
Yeah.
Make sure they're both on the contract. You'll need the person who's finance approved on contract, and then you'll need the person who's on title on contract. So,
Okay,
make sure they're both on Freedom contract.
That'll help push it over the top. Thank you.
One quick note on Mosaic here, guys. Don't think we've mentioned this, but if ever you have an issue with something in Aurora, there's an issue with the Mosaic integration, or you can't get something to work with the Aurora Mosaic integration, you can always just go log into Mosaic directly and do what you need to do there. It doesn't have to go through Aurora. I just want to mention that because, again, I know there are these edge cases, these break glass emergency scenarios. You can always do that. It's not going to give you issues at this point in time trying to convert the project. You don't have to be, that's not a blocker that we currently have in place. So if ever you need to do that, you could always just log into your Mosaic account, spin up a new application or edit. You're going to have the one that you created through Aurora already in your account also. So you can search for it, go to it, do what you need to do there. So just keep that in mind. It's kind of like an emergency scenario if you ever need it.
Okay, Sydney.
Hi there. Thanks again for hosting the event today. I greatly appreciate that. I have a few questions, like actually three, but one of them someone did mention earlier, but my main thing is that if a clients have an existing panels, unfortunately, the other company never did anything with it at all. So it's just there. So it's not even actually working. Would we be able to take over and continue the project for them? Can you hear me?
No, yeah. Hi, Sydney. No, we would not touch that existing system
at all.
Correct. Yeah, we don't want to assume any of the liability for that system with regards to the roof or the original company that put the panels there. With any usable roof space, we can install our own system, but we wouldn't touch the existing system.
Yeah, because they need to reconnect because obviously it was not. Actually, they just did it, but they just left it there and didn't do anything with it. So there's no way.
I would recommend. Yeah, I would recommend that the customer get in touch with the previous company and have them come take the equipment off the roof.
Okay, and my second question is that if the mother's name is on the electricity bill, but the daughter is actually the owner, would there be any problem with that?
So we can still do the system. You would want to make sure that you include the correct person on the utility bill when going through the project generation flow. Mark showed earlier in the presentation how you can either select the person on title or you can choose someone else. In the scenario, you would click someone else. You would add the person who's on the utility bill there, and then along with their email, and then the interconnection document would be sent to that person.
So it should be okay. So it doesn't. Correct. She doesn't have to add her name on the electricity bill or anything like that.
Correct.
Okay, awesome. My third one is that
just a caveat there. So the daughter, whoever's on the utility bill will need to sign the NEM docs, as Brian mentioned. There are certain utilities that require, they're just put the general disclaimer out there. Some utilities are funky in those scenarios, and they need the homeowner to be on title, or they need the title, the U-bill holder to be in contract. There are some weird. So just put that disclaimer out there. That's not always the answer in every single utility, but most. It's fine to just have a homeowner sign the contract until the holder sign the NEM docs, and you're okay.
Got it. And my third question is that does Freedom Forever does commercial?
No,
technically, yes.
No commercial. No.
Well, technically, yes. It's been a much debated, and actually, Brian, maybe you know more than I do. It's been a much debated kind of option for us. We don't do a lot of it. It's a very different sales cycle. It requires a lot more expertise. We generally have that often where new sales reps come and they say, "Hey, I have these great commercial deals," and they just honestly they don't pan out. It's just a very different sale. You need to go out and get your other financing. You're acting more as a solar project manager than just a salesperson. So I think yes, technically we would build it, Brian, unless you know more outdated information than I do. But
yeah, I think that's a little outdated, right? So we have done commercial at certain points in time. I don't think we've taken on a commercial project in well over a year, for the reasons that you laid out there. So you can, if you want to send me that information, we can take a look. But my guess is that it's something that we would pass on at this time. Not saying that we'll never do it, but we haven't done commercial in a very long time. We do residential retrofit. We do a lot of it. And we're very good at it.
All right. Next up is Christopher McDaniel.
Hey, how's it going? I was for a second. I was like, "Am I? Did I raise my hand? I'm not sure." So,
We got you, Chris.
I appreciate you guys.
Thanks
So
for
I
your
have two
patience.
questions. No problem at all. My first question is, so I have a homeowner. Well, actually, no. I have a homeowner who already went solar. She got a PPA, through Sunrun. You guys did the installation. But later on, I asked her if she needed an EV charger. I was building an energy profile for her in home. She said no. Her daughter did get one. So I wanted to know, can we get a homeowner an EV charger by itself without going solar? And if they already went solar, can we get them an EV charger after the fact?
That's a great question. We would always want to include it on the front end when possible. It really depends on like what stage we're at in the process. If this is something that's already been wrapped up, I don't think it's something that we can just like add on, this far along in the process. There are EV. Sorry.
No, I said understood.
Got it. Yeah, I mean there are certainly people that can come out and install an EV charger, but with regards to doing like the EV charger that we do is basically like an inverter. It's an EV charger that's integrated into the inverter, and so that would be like a full inverter replacement. We'd have to go through new permitting and stuff like that. So if it's already the project's been wrapped up, then yeah, that's not a direction that we want to go.
All right, we got time for these last two hands up. We're gonna go with Tony.
All right, hey guys, real quick. So why does it come up when you do a proposal? I've had it a couple times where it'd be like a 90 or 95% offset, but the bill, I've seen bills that are like a much high, like so say it's 95, that's a 5% differential, but yet I have a bill that's like 40% on the grid use. So I'm wondering is what I might be doing wrong to make that happen, because it's just not making sense.
That could be utility dependent. If you look at it, they're working with here. We are at
Yes, thank you guys. Last couple questions. In the event we build a system over 120% offset, what's the magic number where we then need to get approval from the utility company?
So can you restate that? You're talking about like building over 100% historical consumption?
Yeah, so I have a project right now, and the person wanted to get 110, 150 offset to be safe, and on top of that, he's adding an EV car to his garage in the upcoming month. I'm trying to see what the process is like to make sure that even if we build it to 130, 140, what needs to be done from an application standpoint.
That's very site specific. There are different utilities that have different rules, AHJs. Where is this one located?
Nevada.
Nevada. Okay, yeah. So a lot of times in Nevada, we can build over with a load justification form. So that should be doable.
Got it. We get the form from you guys, from NV Energy. What's the?
Yeah. So just let us know that the customer is looking to add certain things, and yeah, we can do a load justification letter there.
Great, and we submit that to what? It's not the product education, right? I'm assuming it's the sales
I would,
support.
yeah, send that through via ticketing.
Ticketing.
So you can
Okay,
either chat into sales concierge or submit a ticket via Lightspeed.
Okay, how much do you guys recommend for an EV car, by the way? Is there a safe number?
How much to overbuild by?
Yes.
I don't know. Everybody's usage is different in driving. I don't have an
got it. Okay.
like a standard
last
answer to
question.
give you there.
Sorry, last question for expert design issues. So we've had a few instances where we request an expert design, then we have to go in the chat to actually talk to someone for them to override whatever the roof planes, etc. Is it me doing something wrong? But it seems like every time the person that we chat with has to send an actual link for us to click on. I have a couple instances where the person was like, just refresh your page, and I keep refreshing and the changes were not showing.
Because that was someone that you were chatting with Aurora that sent you that?
Yes, he was just like, refresh your page. I made the changes. I'm like, I'm refreshing everything. It's not showing. It's sending me back to the front page, I guess, of the proposal, but the changes are not reflecting. And each time it was like, okay, for this time, just check on the link that I'm sending you, which I did. And then obviously the changes were showing then. But it seems like there was a little bug here.
I can jump in there for a second because I've had that issue before. And typically I'm not sure what kind of computer you're using. That might be browser specific. You may try a different web browser. If it was like Microsoft Edge or, it could be browser specific. If you tried logging in with a different web browser, the results may change based on, like certain cookies, certain caches that were there within that browser. So if that issue persists, try that. If it doesn't, reach out to us.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, hey, that wraps it up for all things Aurora. Again, if you had any questions that were not addressed here today, please email us at producteducation@freedomforever.com. We're going to work to turn around the recording of this. The session was recorded today with all the questions included. So we'll get this edited and branded and ideally sent out ASAP. So look for something in your email, hopefully today, if not today, tomorrow, with a recording of this webinar.